All right, we're now ready to make the torsion box assembly that's gonna go inside the 2 pieces of plywood and underneath the whiteboard here. We're gonna make the torsion box out of 1/2-inch plywood, so it'll be fairly light, but still rigid enough to hold its shape and rigidity. So we're gonna go ahead and rip 4 strips that will All right, what you're catching me doing right now is, in order to increase the suction of my dust collection down here, I need to kind of seal up this hole where the belt and pulley drive system is at. So I'm taking a 1/4-inch piece of plywood and I'm kind of making a pattern just to kind of go around all this mechanism right here, and hopefully whenever it's installed it will kind of help increase that suction level. So these are my pieces right here. That is my pattern. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and cut this a little different than I did these pieces, because I didn't like how they laid in there. Now the bottom piece goes in a little bit difficult. I actually have to take the belt off the inside pulley to let the motor drop down so I can have just a tiny bit of clearance, enough to get it in there. And then this is the pattern for the top. This right here is for the little trunnion system that allows it to tilt, and so it also has the motor mounts. So now all I got to do is just get some stickum or magnets, possibly, just countersink them inside there, and it'll hold it in place, and that should give it a good closed off section for that dust port. Now putting the torsion box together for this is going to be a little bit easier than the bottom. The bottom we screwed in place. This one we are just going to glue and put brad nails up underneath. So we're gonna do one here, one towards the middle over there, and then one on the other end, and then we'll start doing the cross bracing. And we'll do layout lines to make sure that they stay nice and square, and we'll probably use spacers as well, like we did on the cart. Okay, all I'm doing here is just marking the lines for where I'm going to nail. So this is on the underneath side that's actually going to be face down, but in order to put the torsion box slats on here, I got to know exactly where those slats are at in order to nail them from underneath. Just going to cut some spacers that'll help me guide the runner along so I can get it nailed in place. Okay, now since I really don't have a need for spacers anymore, all the runners are attached, so now it's just time to cut the grid work pieces, which are the same length as the spacers. So that's why I never remove the clamp off of my crosscut sled. So now I'm just going to batch cut a whole bunch of them so I can start putting them in place. All right, all the grid work is now in place. So all we got to do now is lay the top on. Now before we do that, we have to clean out an area here in the grid work next to the table saw to accommodate the bolts that are going to bolt right up to the table saw. Okay, now in order to accommodate my ratchet to be able to fit inside and tighten these bolts up whenever this tabletop is ready all around the table saw, I'm going to have to make a slot in the very top that's going to go on top of this. So we're going to just measure and then transfer marks to the other one because it's exactly the same as this one. Okay, now before we attach the top, we got to make room for the router to drop through the torsion box and into the router box cabinet. It doesn't have to be the exact opening of this plate. It actually just needs to be the exact measurement of the lift itself, which is a little under, it's about 8 3/4, so I'm just gonna make it 9 inches and just freehand the opening and put the router in and just see how it fits. If any of y'all have ever wanted to start a jigsaw without a starter hole in your place, this is how you do it. Tilt your jigsaw at a pretty steep angle, start it up, and then just start plunging it in. All right, now it's time to cut the banding strips that's going to go all the way around this top, as well as in between the top and the table saw. All right, all the parts are now cut to length, and you saw me cut them to width earlier. There's one part in particular that I'm going to show you over here, a little boo-boo that I had. Where I measured to cut this hole out, I made a mismeasurement. This is twice the width of a standard piece of 3/4 inch pine that I'm going to use. So the easiest fix that I came up with was, since it was double the width, I just went ahead and cut 2 pieces. So whenever they go to slide in, there we go. Anyway, when they go to slide in like that, it'll fill that gap and it'll fit just like I didn't mismeasure. The second boo-boo that I did here was just a tiniest mismeasurement between here and here. So this is just a tiny bit narrower than a 3/4 inch sheet. You can see that a piece won't go in there. So I'm just going to run the piece that I cut for this section right here through the planer, taking the tiniest fraction off of it so it will eventually slide in. And that is fixed. What I'm going to do is take a drill and just make a hole right here through the center, and whenever I put the whiteboard on top, all I got to do is reach up underneath where I can feel the bottom of this, and then punch a hole with a screw, nail, something, anything that'll puncture the top, so I know exactly where I need to start from there again. I know what you're thinking. A lot of clamps. Actually, some of you are probably thinking that dude needs to get more clamps. All right, well, I've got the fence installed now. Miter gauges flow freely through the grooves that I made in the tabletop. The fence glides smoothly across that white top. I still got to put the door fronts on and the door hardware. Other than that, it just comes to stocking it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the series for the torsion box part at least. And pretty soon we'll be wrapping up this entire series on the table saw cabinet. So until next week guys, I will talk to you later. Please be safe in your shops, and hope you had a good Halloween. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.